Hello and welcome to my review of Pokemon Horizons, Episode 5 and 6. So Episode 5 begins with Roy sneaking his way onto Horizon Voltacler's ship in the middle of the night. He wants to see Fuecoco again, following on from the last episode where he was laying in his bed wide awake, but Cap catches him in the act and shocks him. This wakes up the rest of the crew, and while Freed clears it all up, he also talks to Roy about Fuecoco's feelings, and will have to see what Fuecoco wants to do in terms of becoming Roy's partner Pokemon. This episode is kind of a series of misadventures keeping Roy and Fuecoco apart. However, as the night goes on, Roy and Liko can't find Fuecoco, so he kind of sleeps on the ship that night. The next day, Roy takes Liko and Freed to go see his grandpa and get assistance with repairs to the ship. So Fuecoco can't see Roy when it finds out from Molly that Roy was there and left food for him, which leads to Fuecoco jumping off the ship again. So Fuecoco is looking around the island, but as it does, it sees the Explorer submarine and runs off, where it eventually runs into Roy, Liko and Freed. So these three were kind of in the village, talking to the grandpa, and he gets him some food to apologise for the fact that Roy snuck onto their ship. And that kind of gives Roy and Liko the idea of using Caterpie and Weedle's string shot to put the ship back together, because that will hold. But anyway, as this is happening, the explorers begin attacking the rest of the Rising Voltaclers, meaning Murdoch and Orla are using Rockruff and Metagross against Zur and Konia's Rhydon and Golduck. So Fuecoco eventually finds him and points him in the direction of a ship, which Freed runs off to go defend, leaving Liko and Roy in Grandpa's care. But Liko and Roy go to recruit the bug types he had encountered to help with repairs to the ship, as Caterpie and Weedle should have strong enough threads to hold it together. This is when Liko and Roy are both scared in this situation, but Sprigatito that gives Liko the courage to be strong, and Fuecoco does the same for Roy. Freed arrives at the battlefield and challenges Methio again. It's Corviknight versus Charizard. Meanwhile, Konia approaches Roy and Liko as she had deduced the direction that Freed came in. Must be where Liko is. Which is a cool little detail and is a really great plan, as it should make stealing the pendant easier for her, theoretically. However, this does lead to a worst aspect of the episode, as Liko steps up to challenge Konia, which is great. However, Liko fights and wins off screen. And I know this isn't a Liko-focused episode, but I think it's unfair to do that to her, you know? Roy did use that opportunity, though, to get the bug types to the airship, and steps up to fight Zur's Rhydon alongside Fuecoco after seeing Charizard battling. As of course, Fuecoco looks up to Charizard. However, Fuecoco can't use Ember, and this leads to the best part of this episode, as Roy encourages Fuecoco through Strong, a unique way they've figured out how to connect, which works as Fuecoco fires off an Ember. So there's a moment of celebration, but it's cut off short as Methio uses his chance to fly towards Liko to grab her, which is this week's cliffhanger. I still kind of enjoyed that, because throughout this battle, Freed was looking away, and Methio was why are you looking away? This is a serious battle. So kind of in this moment where he sees a chance to grab Liko, it's well, you've looked away, now I'm gonna go get Liko. Overall, this is a fantastic episode. It serves as a follow-up to the end of episode 4 while leaving a very clear open part for episode 6. Focusing on both Roy and Fuecoco's desires to see each other again, tells you how much they want to be partners. But they were kept away from each other through no fault of their own, but a crisis brought them together where they managed to give each other strength. Where Fuecoco gave Roy bravery and Roy connected with Fuecoco uniquely to bring it even one more step closer to letting its dream finally come true by using a fire move. But getting straight into episode 6, Liko's pendant protects her again, so Konia and Zur block Freed from getting closer to her, while Methio challenges Roy and Liko to a battle. Even though they are hopelessly outmatched as Methio sends out Ceruledge, they do try their best, but one Psycho Cut brings them down to Blaze and Overgrow activating, where Liko and Roy pull off a pretty sick combo, but a Phantom Force pretty much ends the battle. Liko calls upon her pendant to save them, which also resonates with the ancient Pokeball, and finally opens it. A beam of light fires to pierce the sky and get through the cloud layer, and down comes a shiny Rayquaza. So oh my god, Roy is cracked having that. Everyone is shocked at this. The explorers, the Voltaclers, the Islanders, they all witness this Pokemon, and the sheer importance they give to the moment is fantastic. Freed barges over to ask him what's going on, but they don't really know. Rayquaza seems pissed as it fires off a Draco Meteor, forcing the explorers to retreat. Roy can't really recall Rayquaza back into a ball, but takes a look at Rico and retreats for some reason. In the calm after that storm, they have a talk to Roy's grandpa about the ancient Pokeball, and how he found it. He had no idea there was anything in there, but it says it must have belonged to the ancient adventurer. The three head back to the ship as Molly has finished taking care of Sprigatito and Fuecoco. Charizard gives Fuecoco a Pokeball, as it can clearly see how Fuecoco feels about Roy. Roy arrives at the ship and starts yelling about how he feels and how he wants to be partners with Fuecoco. And he wants to know how Fuecoco feels though, as Freed had suggested. Fuecoco comes out of the ship, and as Roy's again asking to know how Fuecoco feels, he's looking worried as Fuecoco is not responding. But that's because Fuecoco had a Pokeball in its mouth and it spits out ready to be caught. I really love how Roy says he's been practicing for this moment and lobs the ball at Fuecoco's head, and he just totally whiffs it. It's just about to sell Fuecoco's head, so Fuecoco jumps up to be caught. It's such a good catch, though. It's having 3 episodes of build-up, having a real bond build-up between these guys joining each other. It's wonderful. Fried approaches and gives some professor talk, saying they have to go to Paldea, so Roy acknowledges that it's probably goodbye. But Fuecoco wants to keep on journeying, and Liko gives him some words that the ancient adventurer travelled the world to do, so why not step out with Fuecoco? Roy is worried about his grandpa will stay, but he goes up to his gramps and tells him he's a Pokemon trainer. He wants to join Rising Volt Tacklers and starts reciting his dreams about becoming an adventurer and catching Rayquaza again. And when the grandpa asks if that's his dream, Roy acknowledges that, well, Fuecoco's got a dream too, to become as cool and strong as Charizard, which, by the way, it definitely won't become as cool as Charizard, but the fact that Roy's acknowledging a dream other than his own is what makes his grandpa say yes to, Roy going on a journey. It's a great little moment as it shows that Roy's finally found a partner that makes his grandpa feel comfortable to go out in the world with. And his grandpa's also got a backpack and jacket ready for Roy too. So to contrast this triumphant moment, Amethio is getting a bollocking from Gideon, the leader of the Explorers and another member of the group Spinel, who's told to track down the pendant as Amethio has been removed from mission. No matter how much he tries to say a Black Rayquaza spoiled the plan to steal the pendant. Amethio's lackeys ask if he's okay and he says, yeah, he'll just go for Rayquaza then. After this moment we get Roy's introduction to Rising Volt Tacklers, but he returns the flag to a group, which is a wonderful full circle moment because this started like Roy's little story. He calls Fuecoco the greatest treasure, and his first job is to raise a flag. The ship takes off as the villagers see Roy off. He and Liko overlook the sunset as their journey has truly begun. So what a wonderful mini arc this has been, huh? I mean, of course it does a lot for greater narrative, things like the pendant and Rayquaza, but the real heart of this all has been Roy and Fuecoco. The fact it took 3 episodes to build up and made the catch so satisfying, you really get the idea of how much they found a partner to resonate with. So culminating here in episode 6, you know it's going to be really good. But I mean, how can I not talk about Rayquaza, man? I already felt like Roy had more direction, than Liko did, but this laser focus is what he wants to do with him catching this shiny Rayquaza. So please let him do that. That'd be awesome. But I do appreciate that Liko and Fried weren't really sidelined either. Liko's there as someone that Roy can relate to and is able to share her experience with as a beginning trainer, which does help him, while Fried was kind of rejecting the idea of being called a Pokemon Professor at the start of the arc. But in episode 5 he imparts really good wisdom you'd expect from a professor, and in episode 6 he's saying that his professor blood is boiling at the prospect of investigating Rayquaza. So just in general, I think we can say we're past the beginning of the series now. Everyone's assembled has begun their journeys, so I can say pretty confidently that this is the strongest start to a Pokemon anime series. This has been a fantastic set of episodes.